You're watching the Run For It YouTube channel. I'm Finlay, and this episode is a review of the Brooks Hyperion Elite 5 running shoes. Hope you enjoy. Let's start with the midsole tech. It features 2 layers of DNA gold foam. Now, DNA gold is created through a high pressure autoclave that takes 100% PEBA foam and pressurizes it to the point where it can be fully infused with nitrogen. As a result, this 100% nitro-infused PEBA foam is the softest, lightest and most energy returning foam that Brooks has ever produced. Now, of course, as these are racing shoes, there's a full-length carbon fibre plate running through the midsole, which you can see on the medial side here. Importantly, though, the size of this plate is customised to each size of the shoe, and that helps reduce the weight and optimize the bending stiffness of the structure. You can also see that lateral and medial cutout on the midsole to help also bring that weight down. And weighing under 200 grams, the Hyperion Elite 5 are extremely lightweight. On the outsole, we have a 1.5mm thick rubber, and that obviously helps keep the weight down. Brooks's goal with the upper was to also reduce as much material as possible to help keep the weight down. You can see just how thin and breathable that mesh is. There is a very small amount of padding on the inside of the heel counter there. Hopefully you can see that to offer a little bit more comfort. Now, it is worth noting that these are TPU-coated yarns, which does significantly improve the durability and the support on offer. So who and what are the Hyperion Elite 5 running shoes best suited to? Well, while the total stack height is 40 to 32 millimeters from heel to forefoot, the overall sensation is that you feel quite close to the ground considering these are super shoes. And while the foam does feel, yes, bouncy and soft underfoot, the overall ride is very responsive. And what that means is that this cushioning is quite well suited to runners who are first and foremost looking for lots of propulsion, but who are also seeking quite a connected feel to the midsole. So by that, I mean models such as the Alpha Fly and the Arios Pro really do reduce the impact of landing quite a lot. You don't really feel a lot of what's happening under your feet, whereas in this, it's a bit of a different sensation. It feels a little bit more like the shoe's part of your feet. And there's definitely runners who want to feel as little as possible, and then runners who are seeking that propulsive experience but want to have a little bit more control of what's happening under their feet. Now, you might expect that that makes the midsole quite stable underfoot, but that's not necessarily the case. Yes, when you're running at below 4-minute kilometer pace and you're moving at quick speeds, the midsole feels very propulsive, so you do get that sense of support and structure from the midsole. But if you start to slow down and you're running at 4:15, 4:38 per kilometer pace, the midsole really doesn't feel that natural to run in, and that's when it doesn't feel very stable underfoot. And while this might seem very obvious, this is being highlighted because the Hyperion Elite will service quite a specific type of runner, probably those who are really pretty well conditioned and are capable of running pretty fast times over a half marathon, a marathon. And yes, pace is always relative. However, it's likely that if you're not running faster or averaging faster than 4 minutes a kilometer pace in a half marathon or a marathon, then this midsole geometry is probably not going to be the right option for you. There will be better shoes. This is going to suit somebody who is really moving over the ground as quickly as possible. So these should be a very good marathon racing shoe for very fast runners. But for your typical runner, it's likely that these are probably going to be best for 5K racing, potentially through to half marathon racing. And that's just really because the midsole feels so light and so aggressive. And it will likely feel best when you're able to run a distance at a consistent pace and you're going to, or you're trying to aim to finish as fast as possible. That's when the midsole will really come into its own, when you're trying to pick up the speed and push as hard as possible. And that's very usually a different challenge in the marathon. So many people are slowing down quite significantly in the last 5-10k of a marathon, and that's when you need as much help as possible. And this geometry is just probably not going to feel as good under your feet as it does when you're moving at a very good fast pace. From a sizing perspective, the Brooks Hyperion Elite 5 running shoes are unisex, which always makes the sizing advice a little bit different. I actually took my normal running shoe size and that was perfect, ample space, toes are nowhere near the end of the shoe, so no problem running long distance with that fit. But for female runners, you might want to size half a size down from your normal running shoe size just to avoid there being too much space at the front of the shoes. It's fair to say there's a lot to admire about this upper. It feels unbelievably light and breathable, very impressive design. But in a recent review, we talked about how the New Balance SC Elite delivered one of the best fits we've ever experienced from their super shoe. And actually, that shoe features quite a traditional, quite a simple upper. And unfortunately, this upper is another example of something which is almost overly complicated. It's this design at the back with the heel pods on the inside. There's other shoes that are similar to this out there, and it is a bit of luck whether this actually holds your foot or doesn't hold your foot. You can see how essentially just fold the whole back of the shoe down, and it's likely that that will really limit how many runners are going to find this feels supportive or comfortable enough for running long distance races such as the marathon. It feels brilliant when you're trying to run really quick and fast over the shorter distances because it's so light and you do get reasonable lockdown where your foot's not slipping out the back of the shoe. But if you are starting to slow down a bit, it's just the support that you're really looking for isn't quite there. So this is very much a design which is going to be tailored for the elite marathon runners, but again, for typical everyday runner, this is quite a specific design. And our feedback is really, with a shoe like this, yes, it's great to see lots of technicality, but the support just can't be sacrificed. And there's definitely a couple of question marks over how good this design is. So in summary, Brooks has created an exceptionally fast feeling shoe, and there's no doubt that these are suited to runners who are looking for best in class propulsion, but with an exceptionally light underfoot sensation and a midsole that you feel quite connected to. And that's no surprise when this model has been designed with Brooks's pro athletes. And at Run For It, we think it's very important to say what a shoe is and isn't suited to, and who a shoe is suited to and not suited to, because, and this hasn't been said about the Hyperion Elite, by the way, but sometimes marketing messages such as this is a shoe for everybody aren't always necessarily correct, and ultimately there are a lot of people running marathons in completely the wrong shoes and finding that the second half or the last third of the race is really tough going. Obviously it's not just down to the shoe, but that can be a very big factor. And it's really what we're trying to say is that there is a very clear position for this model. If you're a fast runner who is really trying to achieve your absolute best times in races, then this is a very good shoe to consider because the propulsion is exceptional, but you are going to feel that very light and agile feel. It's for that reason that this is also quite comparable to the Nike Vaporfly 4. And if you compare the Vaporfly 4 to the Alphafly, for example, they're very different shoes. So that's really what we're seeing now, is that there's a very broad spectrum when it comes to super shoes for racing. At one point, they were maybe quite similar. We're now starting to see quite a specific segmentation between them, and models which are much more suited to one type of runner or then better suited to one type of distance. That brings me to the end of this review. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As always, if you have any questions, please comment and we will get back to you as soon as we can. See you soon.